What is up, guys? Forrest here, and since today, Wednesday, is one of my busier days throughout the week as a computer science student, I figure I'd take you guys along. Now, I'm not really sure how one goes about recording in class, and on top of that, recording in class and making something more interesting. But at the very least, I want to show you essentially going on campus and kind of how computer science courses are structured. And I'm not talking about the curriculum, but I'm talking about the actual class, you know. Some classes you're in a lab, other classes you're sitting down in lecture, other classes you're programming along with the teacher. So I guess when we go to class today, that's what we'll find out. Are we going to be programming with the teacher? I don't know. But for right now, as far as I'm concerned, I have to get something done that is not in the typical day of a computer science student, and that is responding to your comments. So if you want to leave a comment, I read every single last comment, and I respond to basically all of them. So what you can kind of see on the screen over here are all of your comments consolidated into one tab within my Creator Studio on YouTube. So let's go through a few of these comments. I'm going to answer them back to the person who asked it, but I'm also going to answer them to you guys, because a lot of these questions can benefit a lot of people, because I get the same questions asked over and over and over again, and some of these I just want to answer. Alright, so the first question is on a video where I went into Adobe Illustrator and I designed, you know, like a logo. It's essentially just a MacBook Pro, and it looks like there's like code on it. I thought it looked cool, so I made a video about it. And Venomous Gamer YT says, would I be wrong if I do this in Photoshop? I've done Photoshop for 6 years and tried using Adobe Illustrator, but everything is different. You can design with whatever tool that suits your needs. If you're good at Photoshop, use Photoshop. Alright, so the next question comes from Dr. Jojo Boxer on one of my last videos about Android development, and I used quotes for Android development because it wasn't really Android development. Like, it was my first time ever in Android Studio, and I was just kind of given the experience. Like, this is my starting point in Android development ever. You only open up, download, and use Android Studio for the first time once, and I wanted to document that. And it was quite the struggle, especially, you know, I'm using Xcode and Swift for iOS development, and then when I switch over to Android Studio, and I mean, Java's fine, but Android Studio, it's like, it's let's just say I didn't like it as much as Xcode. But Dr. Jojo Boxer said he took online Java classes, he took online Udemy Android courses, and he said the courses and everything were great, but Android Studio sucks. And that's essentially what I said in my video. Not that it sucks, it's just like, it was more confusing to me to get into Android Studio than it was to get into Xcode, although I already had experience. I have way more experience in programming now, you know, when I recorded the Android video, than back when I started iOS development using Xcode. So that says something. But he did say he does programming as a hobby, and he thinks he wants to focus maybe on iOS development instead of Android development to be in a more seamless ecosystem like Apple's ecosystem. And what I'm commenting back is essentially agreeing with him, because that's exactly why I chose iOS, especially over something like web development, because iOS and the ecosystem is so seamless. One, you don't have all of these different devices that you need to program for. Like, you need to, sure, you can set constraints. I mean, that's what you do for, you know, across all platforms. But it is easier to just worry about 2, maybe 3. Normally, I just focus on like 3 screens instead of worrying about all of the different Android devices that your app needs to run on. It may not be as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it is to me. For me, I just wanted to focus on one language, Swift, and one IDE, Xcode. Also, from my research, you get paid more as an iOS developer than an Android developer, but that's neither here nor there. Well, it was at the time, but not anymore. So this next question was on my Day in the Life of a Computer Science Student video, and I think a lot of you can benefit from this if you're considering getting into computer science, and that is, do you need to be good at math for computer science? Yes, you need to be good at math for computer science. You don't need to be necessarily amazing at math when it comes to just software development. But remember, computer science is just that, science. You learn computer theory. You're getting a Bachelor of Science degree upon completion of your computer science course. You see how I'm emphasizing science? Because with science comes math, and math is a focus of many of your computer science courses. Like, they're fundamentally math courses, but they're under the computer science name, as well as you need to do calculus 1 and 2, at least at my school. Some other schools you have to do calculus 3 as well. You have to take a few years of statistics. You have to make sure you know linear algebra, 1 or 2 years of that. And when I say years, I really mean semesters, so like courses. So computer science, you need to I say right now, if you're not good at math, that's one thing. If you don't want to do math, that's another thing. Because if you're not good at math right now, I believe that you can learn and get better at math just like you'd be getting better at programming. I mean, as long as you study and you get the work done, you will learn essentially everything you need to learn. But if you don't want to do math, take a look into some of your computer science classes and the programs and see how many math courses, high-level math courses that you need to take. And if you really want to take them, go ahead. If you don't, then I'd recommend looking into something else. But the next comment comes from Moneyman on my Day in the Life of Computer Science video, and he wants to be a software developer and he's enrolled in a computer science degree program. But there's another college by him that has a information technology degree, I guess, with 4 pathways, one of which being software development. And he was asking me if he should transfer. Me, I can't, I'm not going to be recommending anyone, this is what you need to do. I'll just give you as much as my knowledge so you can make an educated decision. So basically what I said is go to each program for whatever college. So look at your computer science program that you're currently enrolled in, and then look at the software development program that you may want to enroll in, and look at the courses. Which ones look more appealing to you? And if that's the one that looks more appealing to you, go with that one. And he also mentioned about how he doesn't really like math, or that he's not so good in math either. So I did mention that, yes, computer science is very math intensive, like I just mentioned. All right, so this next question is actually, I just recorded a video about this. I don't know if it's going to be out on my channel just yet. It is by AJ Akinremi. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, but AJ. He essentially said he has an interest in computer science, but doesn't know which part or which emphasis of computer science to pursue, because there's so many different ones. There's software development, there's cybersecurity, there's IT side of things where you do a lot of like network and setting up computers and making sure everything runs well within a particular company. And then there's SQL analysts. There's so many different things within computer science. And I did record this video, or the video that I just mentioned, called Career Paths in Computer Science, or Career Paths for Computer Science Students, or whatever I named it. And he's asking if I have any idea of what path he should take. Like I just mentioned, I'm just going to give the most of my knowledge as possible to him for him to make an educated decision. Don't know what that's going to be just yet. All right, so these next questions come from AR Asan on my it doesn't really matter what video this comes from, but he said he's new to my channel, but he's gone back and checked out some of my older videos, like the very first video of my iDev journey, which I made I think in 2016. And he's asking, how many apps have I made? How far have I come with my iOS development journey? And have I applied to any internships for, I guess, computer science? So to answer those, my iDev journey, I've created many small applications, but I have been working slowly on one big iOS application that I will be finishing up this year. But as many of you can tell, computer science kind of takes priority because I don't want to spend all of this money into my computer science classes and then focus on my application and then fail those classes and waste all of that money. It just doesn't make any sense. So I have to figure out my priority in iOS application. I make priority on occasion, but it's not something I can spend 40 hours a week developing. And then, have you applied for any internships? Yes. Throughout my computer science program, I have had 4 internships, I believe, 2 of which were with the same company. So my very first one, I started off at a local IT company, and that's where I really realized I don't want to be like an IT guy. My second internship was at NASA Langley. I worked on the STARS 2 contract, and I worked inside the Atmospheric Science Data Center. And my third and fourth internship /co-op, whatever you want to call it, tomato, I guess, was at Norfolk Southern, and that was very fun. I mean, they sent me over to Chicago. I worked on a terminal for a lot of the stuff. And it was a very interesting evolution of that internship co-op type deal, because I started off with like the systems analysts and kind of, the intermodal systems department. But I also was heavily involved with the intermodal operations department. I guess they figured, I have sales experience because my very first big boy job, is what I'll call it, was a technical sales specialist for a pretty big company. So I guess they took a liking to me and I worked heavily with them. I was actually going to get a job with them until they moved down to Atlanta. And since my school is here in Norfolk, I needed to finish up school here in Norfolk. And also, I don't live in Norfolk. I live in Virginia Beach, but my school's in Norfolk. That's why I say here. All right, that's going to be it for the comment section. The kind of, I guess we'll call this the Q&A section of this video, because it's about time for me to get ready to head to class. Oh crap, I'm in here packing up my car in order to go to class, and I remembered that I just got assigned into a group for my Android development class, and I promised that I was going to bring ideas to class for us to kind of throw around and figure out what we want to do. That is for the big class project that we'll be working on all semester. And all of my ideas are in a journal that I can't find. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to find it. There's a few more places I have to look, and then I gotta go to class. There's no doubt I'm gonna be late. Nope. 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 And no. Did you take my journal? Probably not. Alright, so I've exhausted all possibilities. The only place it could be is in here, because I know I didn't throw it away, and I've literally checked everywhere else. Because this is where I put all of my old books, as you can see. But I don't see it. Oh, this is my stuff from last year. Aha! I swear this wasn't staged. This was the last place I looked. So you see this little journal right here? This has roughly 8 full pages with roughly somewhere between 6 and 8 app ideas on each. So if you can do the math, that is as much as 64 app ideas within one journal. Some are probably taken, some probably suck, but every time I had an idea, I wrote it down in here. So I'm gonna take this to class and kind of throw out some of the ideas from inside of this book to my partners, and hopefully they bite on one. If not, well then they'll have to think of some on their own, but at least I did my part. See, and just to put things in perspective, I live roughly an hour away from campus. So when it comes to forgetting something, like my journal for example, I can't just come back. My journal. And if you want idiocy every day, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because here we get halfway to class and leave our book on the table. Alright. So, guys, as you can see, it is dark outside already. Basically, I was late to my first class, didn't have time to really film anything other than what you saw, and then I ran over to my second class in order to get some of the ideas flowing before class actually started, and we just had regular lecture class. It wasn't really anything special. But if you're wondering what the classrooms are like, because I know many people are curious about how like a computer science course, and this is a 400 level course at the highest level you can get in an undergrad degree, and how those courses play out. So basically today we're just 2 lecture courses in a regular classroom filled with desks, no computers except for the laptop that you brought. We just sat there and kind of went over lecture because we haven't had many classes, and this class is roughly 3 hours long. And for these first 3 or so weeks of class that we've had, we've gone over the basics of Android development, kind of, you know, working with databases and working with the front end and going over prototyping a bit, and then assembling teams for our big group project. And in all honesty, I went back to get my journal with all of my ideas. Most of my ideas were either not really in the scope of this course or were just already done because I have, you know, projects over the past 3 years, or ideas over the past 3 years in that journal. So in other words, I didn't even need my journal, but I came with some ideas. It was just, we didn't go with one of them. We went with another idea that I'll discuss in a future video, because in all honesty, we're not 100% sure if this will be our idea, and we have to get a better understanding of what our project will be. But overall, I don't know how to bring a camera into a classroom and record. It's not like I'm going to record the lecture for you guys to see the whole thing. I just want to give you a basic understanding. Like right now, I just walked back to class, or back to my car from class rather, and now I think it's like 6 or 7 o'clock and I have to hit the gym. If you guys saw my last computer science video, you know I go hard in the gym. Alright, now that I'm back home after the gym, after school, after everything, let's end the day where I started the day, shall we? And by end the day, I don't really mean end the day, because it's about 10 p.m. right now, and it really just feels like the day's just getting started because I have a lot of work to do. We have to finish up our app idea proposal. We just have to kind of consolidate a few things, make it a little bit pretty, although this is essentially just like a rough draft of saying this is our idea and it's subject to change at any time if we ever so wish. But we still need to make it something worth submitting. So with that being said, let me get my laptop and kind of give you the little process of how we go about working in teams in this mobile app development course. So one member of our team kind of put together most of the proposal since we got just matched up like yesterday and we had to submit a proposal by today because we were the few that didn't have a team going into this class. We got put together, so we needed to whip up a proposal very quickly. And that's where Google Docs comes into play because Google Docs, you can all work on it at the same time. Version control is on point. And I only make that comparison because computer science, software development. You get it. And something that I did during class is set up a Slack channel. So many of you have heard me talk about Slack. I set up a Slack channel for our class CS441 Group 5. And surprisingly, there's one person, the person who did the proposal and put it on Google Docs, had never heard of Slack.com until I sent them an email to invite them to this Slack channel. Basically, what we're going to be doing is sitting down, communicating, and although, yes, we can communicate in Google Docs, and that's probably what you should do when you're all working in Google Docs, but you're not always in Google Docs. You'll have Slack on your phone or on your desktop be able to send you notifications. So if you're not working on it or if you need to know something, this is the easiest way that I found for computer science or software developers to communicate within a team. And just like that, we have our proposal submitted. And don't worry, I know you can't see anything right now because in a future video, I'll tell you guys what our app is all about. But since this is just a one-day whip-up of an app idea proposal, we have to get it approved and all four of us have to really like it. So once we actually dive deeper into this topic, we'll decide whether we like it or not. And then if we really don't, or it's not really in the scope of this course, or maybe it's too little in this course, we'll change it as we go. But when we have a proposal presentation for next week, that'll give us this next week before the proposal presentation to really dive into the app and get a better idea if this is what we want to do or not. But now, the day's not done just yet. I have a class, what is it? Some type of computer theory class where I am creating a program where I am essentially generating two pieces of code, one being MakeMat and two being Gaussian Solver. So if you're familiar with Gaussian elimination and things of that nature, that's kind of the idea. When it comes to MakeMat, it's essentially where, I'm gonna read it right off the assignment page, user inputs value n equals number of rows and columns in the matrix. So we're building Basically, we're building a matrix and we want to put it into reduced row echelon form. Among a few other things, we have to write all of the data that we get into a file, and then we have to write a Gaussian solver that reads that file and, well, solves it. And I basically have all of this written, as you can see right here. All this is the MakeMat part of things, where I'm, creating the matrix and putting it in reduced row echelon form. I still have to make it write out into a file, and I already have everything for the Gaussian solver to read that file and do what that needs to do. All of this code will be put on my GitHub, which is always linked in the description box below every single video. And I made sure I stated that because if you have a GitHub, which if you're a software developer or computer science, you need to look into GitHub if you don't already have one and get one, and then go ahead and follow me on that because why not? But those are the tasks for the day. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. It was a lot of fun, although there were a few hiccups when I, had to come back and get my journal and whatnot, and then ended up not even using any of the ideas in the journal. But it is what it is. If you guys like this video and you're still watching it at this point in the video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, I can provide that for you. So don't forget to subscribe in that button right down there. I'd really appreciate it. I mean, we're about to hit 5,000 subscribers at the making of this video. We are so close, and we've been growing so rapidly within the past month. It's crazy. Should I do some type of subscriber giveaway at 5,000, or should I wait until it's 10,000? I don't know. And until next time, guys, have a good one. Peace.